Soft guard. Michael Thomas is out. Obviously, you lost Devin and Evan. Just where does your unit stand right now?
You know what? We're working to get better. Obviously, it's a lot like any other year that we've been here. I mean, trying to take that next step as a group. I mean, it doesn't help having guys dinged up like Mike or Dontre and obviously a couple other guys that aren't practicing. But I feel good about the reps that the other guys are getting. I mean, it's giving guys opportunities to improve that maybe wouldn't have gotten as many opportunities as they would have. So we're getting there.
Who of the young guys has really emerged or starting to emerge?
Noah Brown's probably had as good a spring as I could have wanted. I mean, he's dropped 25 pounds, and I mean he's on a different level than he was in the fall, and so I'm really really pleased with where he's at. I mean, he's come a long way, and he's still got a little bit of work to do, but he's looking like a guy that's going to contribute heavily in the fall. And then young guys like Paris Campbell and Terry McLaurin they're still working. There's every day they're going out, and I mean they leave practice blown out because they are grinding to get better. They're not there yet. But every now and then they show a flash or a promise where you say, all right, by the fall, I think we can get this guy ready to play.
Front row, Tim. Tim, Mike Clemson Dispatch. Zach, have y'all, with Curtis Samuel, does he meet with you a lot in your room? Talk about his progress a little bit. What have you seen out of him? Does it look like he can play that spot?
Well, yeah, Curtis is really talented. Curtis could play a lot of different spots. I mean, there's very few that he couldn't. So he's been meeting in my room, kind of trying to saturate him with this position, just so we have more flexibility to utilize him back in the backfield, out of the backfield in the slot. And I mean, that's not something you could just dip your toe in and test the waters. That's something you got to dive in full force. I mean, he had a full year at running back to really work those skills, and so we took him this spring and said we're going to give him a full spring at receiver so we could try to develop that skill set so he becomes more multi-talented and we can use him in more ways.
And Jalen Marshall, is he seeing some looks at other spots besides hybrid back? I mean, what do you?
Yeah, I moved Jalen outside for the spring. I mean, the way our defense plays so much press man on the outside, I wanted Jalen to go in and get that work on the outside. I wanted him to get press man work because that's something that you don't get a lot of in the slot. And I think to take his game to the next level, that was a critical piece. I don't think he's going to play out there, though he has the flexibility to move out there. He's getting a good 15 practice block of press man against guys like Eli, guys like Garyon, getting that great work that he would have otherwise missed out of it in the slot.
Oh, is Dontre, what's he doing?
Dontre, we have a great plan for Dontre. I mean, obviously he can't do anything mobily. He can't run routes or anything like that, but we do a lot of ball skills. I mean, he has a kind of a custom, him and a lot of guys, him and Johnny Dixon, him and James Clark, Mike Thomas, they do a lot of ball drills, ball skill development things, and even when they do rehab, they're in the underwater treadmill running and getting their cardio in. They're not just running in a treadmill. I mean, they're catching balls as they do it. So we have a very detailed plan for injured guys that can't necessarily get to work on the field, but just kind of a specialized rehab treatment program for them.
Front row, Austin. Zach, it seems like the last couple of years, Dontre had a year at running back, then you guys integrated him into your group a little bit more, same thing for Curtis. Is it just these two, or is this a trend or something that you want to maybe do with a guy every year?
Yeah, I mean, that's at the end of the day, we're going to get the best players on the field. So it really depends on how recruiting goes and who we bring in. We're not going to have a guy like Curtis sit on the bench because Zeke's the running back and just have him play 10 snaps a game. We're going to get him on the field as much as he earns. So Dontre was in that situation with Carlos Hyde, and then Zeke came in, and so Dontre, we weren't going to keep him off the field, so we moved him to receiver. Now Curtis, I think in an ideal world, he's going to play both. The ability to go in the backfield when Zeke's not in, or play in the slot when Zeke is in, and so we're developing that skill set. Does he stay there? I don't think so, but I guess nobody has a crystal ball, so we'll see. But that's something that we like to have the ability to do. We like recruiting those hybrid guys that can play both so they can come out of the slot and we can hand them a ball, and also so they can motion out of the backfield and do things on the perimeter that a traditional tailback doesn't do. I mean, it's just a different world. I mean, guys don't understand the position coming from a different one. Jalen Marshall went through it when he came from quarterback to receiver. Dontre went through it. Curtis is going through it. And so that's why we're trying to saturate him now, as opposed to come in fall camp, say, shoot, we need to get him on the field. Let's put him at receiver a little bit. Then you're really you're trying to give him a small skill set. We don't want to give him a small skill set. We want to open the offense up to him and him be able to be efficient at all of it. So that's what we're trying to do right now. And there's definitely a lot of learning curve. I mean, probably the biggest is just how much we run out there, because running backs, they go 2-3 plays and then they're getting a sub. There's only one of them on the field. And Curtis looked at me after the first day and was like, "Whew, this is real out here at wideout." So it's a different world, both in conditioning and how we play the position and the physical skill set and endurance you need to do it.
Front row left, Doug.
You said you have Jalen outside now, but you don't imagine him staying there in the fall. Why do you like him more in the slot? What would it be? What would the possibilities be of maybe him staying outside?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a similar situation with Wise Curtis meeting with the receivers. I mean, Jalen can play outside, and so he's going to have a full spring of doing that, so if we need to or want to, we can. But we're going to get the best 6 wideouts or 7 wideouts in the rotation. So where he fits in that is really where we best see him fitting. And right, he left the year as the starting H, and the best H we had, the hybrid, the slot receiver. So I'm not going to put him outside just because we can if he's the best one in the slot. Now, maybe we come out of fall camp and say he's one of the best 3 and there's a different guy in the slot and he's outside. Sure, that could happen. And the flexibility is what I'm training for, is the ability to get him outside if that's what Ohio State needs, if that's what our offense needs. And it's also going to help him because the slot will occasionally get pressed. I mean, you watch it in even some of our games against Alabama and teams like that where they did press a slot, and he was okay at it, but he wasn't great at it. So I'm trying to get him great at it, so even if he is in the slot, he can be dynamic in any situation.
We were talking with Dontre like during the playoff last year. He seemed like he kept talking like, "Oh, I'm going to play against Alabama," and then I'm going to play against Oregon, and now it didn't happen, and now we're here in the spring, and he's not. Are you concerned at all about his?
No, I mean, we kind of knew going down the stretch towards the end that Dontre was probably going to need another surgery. I mean, it didn't heal great, and so he was able to go, but he was one play away from re-breaking it, and so we were very tentative at putting him in the game. I mean, he was live. I got him in the Oregon game for, I think, 3 snaps, mainly just because I felt like he deserved to go out on the field in that game because he helped us get there. And he was able to do anything, but he just wasn't comfortable on his foot yet, probably mainly because he needed another surgery. So if we got in a bind, a guy gets hurt or 2 guys get hurt, he could have played until something happened, but it was kind of inevitable that it was either going to happen or he was going to need a surgery. So I feel great about it now because he got the surgery. It looks great. It's healing great, and we're sticking to the plan so that he can be healthy by fall.
Just sorry for one more, but what we saw of Johnny last year, and then the injury, is he ready to be a full-time starting receiver at Ohio State, or are there things he has to do first to be that kind of player?
I mean, Johnny has the skill set, and we see, it's kind of like some of these young guys, we see flashes every now and then. He just got to get healthy. He's not ready, but I would hope he wouldn't be ready because he hasn't really been through he went through spring, and then we really felt good about where he was at, and then he was dinged up the rest of fall. And so he came back and started off real strong and then kind of got re-dinged. And so our whole goal and mentality right now is get him healthy, get him to 100%, and then let's get him ready because he's going to be ready. He has everything there to get ready to go be a guy that we can count on, but we haven't had him healthy to do that yet.
Zach, does it hurt, hinder the growth of the receivers not having any clarity at quarterback right now with guys all working in there? How does that work?
No, I mean I think I said it all last year. It's kind of whoever's taking a snap, we're going to do what we do, and they're all very similar. They have different skill sets, but it doesn't change how we do anything. So at the end of the day, every wideout has a one-on-one battle at some point in a route, in a perimeter run, whatever it is. They have a one-on-one. They got to win the one-on-one. Now, if the ball is a little high, a little low, a little harder, a little softer, I mean, that's something that you kind of get adjusted to as you're getting ready for a game, but that's not something that changes how we operate. So they're great with whoever's back there right now, and always have been, and I mean, to be honest, it's a heck of a problem to have for them because they know whoever's back there is really good.
You mentioned, does it change things like when Braxton throws a ball versus Cardell versus JT? They all throw different balls, so how much of an adjustment is it from a wideout perspective?
It's not a lot of adjustment. I mean, they go through. I mean, obviously Braxton's not throwing right now, but JT and Cardell are throwing, and I mean, it's not like they're only catching balls from Cardell or only catching balls from JT. I mean, they're working with both, so they get accustomed to each other just through repetition. And so once Braxton's back and throwing, the same thing will naturally happen over the summer. They'll go out and throw routes and then in two-a-days and things like that. They will get accustomed to who the guy is, and really it's more for the quarterback, getting accustomed to how Jalen Marshall runs this certain route and feeling comfortable with it and having that chemistry. So they get the reps to have that chemistry, and you saw it last year. I mean, JT goes down and Cardale comes in, and the chemistry is phenomenal. And it wasn't because all of a sudden that week they started catching some balls from Cardale. I mean, they do it constantly.
It'll be like, just one more, what do you think it'll be like for some of those young guys who came here and Braxton was this legend that they really haven't gotten a chance to play with when he's actually out there and they're able to play with him? What will it be like for those young guys to do that?
I mean, I think it's going to be phenomenal for them. I mean, they a lot of them came here because they knew Braxton Miller's this, Heisman candidate, 2-time Big Ten Player of theAr, and so that they love him and they love him as a player, and they're excited to get him back on the field for sure. They can't wait for him to get back out there and do what he does.
Is Noah Brown, by the way, working at several spots, or where is he primarily working?
Yeah, Noah's worked all spots. He's right now at X just because Mike's out, and that. Not saying he can't be the X, because he certainly can. He's done a great job this spring, but he played in the slot all last year. He played outside a little bit because he started showing that he could get on the field, and now I moved him to the boundary this spring. But even this spring when Mike was practicing and some of these guys that are dinged now that weren't, I was moving him around a bunch, and I told him going into spring, the mentality right now is to get you ready to start at all three spots, so that he's kind of like Jalen. He has that flexibility so that when we need to get the best three on the field, whoever that is, I can plug them where I need to, and they'll be really good at it.
Two more questions for Zach. Matt, far left.
Just kind of building off of what Todd was asking. I know you're not working directly with the quarterbacks, but Coach Meyer mentioned at the start of the spring with JT and Braxton's situation, he wanted to see Cardale still say he was like a raw rookie despite what we saw.
Right.
Wanted to see him get 1 million reps this spring. I'm just wondering from your perspective, what kind of a spring, now that we're about halfway through or more than, what kind of spring is he having?
You know what? He's developing. I mean, he's coming along. I mean, just never mind. I mean, he's always had the skill set. He's always been really intelligent and has a good football IQ. But just things like, leading guys, when getting frustrated when a guy drops a ball or right guard misses a protection. I mean, he's grabbing them and saying, come on, let's go. You got to do this. You got to do that. And explaining to Stephen Collier, like, listen, this was the coverage. Do that. You see him step out more as a leader than he had in the past because he was kind of in the back seat, just trying to, stay active and stay engaged. And so you see that, which is really good to see. But as far as a quarterback, yeah, he's gotten better over the 9 practices we've had. But you see more intangible stuff coming off the, kind of away from the play than you do on the field.
Coach Meyer came in here last week and talked about you guys kind of trying to identify your top playmakers this spring. Just wondering, how do you kind of coach playmaking? Is that something that can be taught? Is it like an innate skill set, or is it something you guys consciously try to build in guys?
It was a magic potion we give out, actually. No, it's really just teaching them how to run a route, teaching them the concept. Once they understand the offense and defense, they just have to go execute, and then it's a matter of when it's like anything else. When the bright lights are on, it's your time to make the play. Do you make the play? Because if you can't do it in practice, when it's coming and the spotlight's on you, you aren't going to do it in the national championship game or the Big Ten championship. You got to see it there first. So it's really just the opportunity, giving them an opportunity, and trying to see them shine. And then you do that, and they start to become more consistent, and then all of a sudden you feel like they're ready to go out on prime time and go do it. So we got to see them do it here first. So it's more opportunity than anything. I mean, they have to be coached and coached how to do it and understand when it's their time to shine. But once that's done, you got to see them do it. Put them in the situation and let them, sink or swim.